For our species this week, we're headed to the wrecks, reefs, and structures where you'll see their yellow glow as you let your lines out. And when you catch them, be prepared for a fun fight and an even better dinner. We're talking yellowtail on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and while we will be reporting like normal this week, we do know that some of our captain sponsors and many of our viewers were affected by Hurricane Idalia, and our thoughts and prayers are with them, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. You know, with hurricanes and living in the beautiful state of Florida, it's just a matter of whose turn it is. And unfortunately, It was the Big Ben's turn. Yeah. The one thing I want to emphasize, guys, I've been through a lot of these things. Just remember that we can replace houses, we can grow new trees. Don't get all caught up in that, but more importantly, know that you and your family are safe and continue to stay safe as the recovery in your area begins.
Yes, Rick, and recovery will be a tough road, but we're Florida strong. And you know what? The fishing does go on. So before we get to our Labor Day weekend reports, the CCA workbench is sporting a sleek Dave Farrow with a few Yellowtail secrets to share later.
I'm sleek, huh?
Yeah, like
I don't
Yellowtail.
know what happened. I guess that hurricane blew some fat off me.
I guess so.
I'm not sleek at all. But yeah, we're going to talk about going out and catching some really nice yellowtails.
Sounds good to me.
And eating them.
And eating them. All right, well, we're starting our Dynamite Yellowtail in the Dynapack Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Tell us what we should know, Jimbo.
You got it, Brie, and hello, Rick and Dave. Yep, we got plenty of yellowtail here in the Southeast region, and typically the further south you get, the better the reef system gets, and therefore more fish, and this is also a great time to target those yellowtails, especially in the evening when they definitely bite the best and it's not so hot. Now, the shallow reefs and patches, they do hold lots of yellowtails, but most of these are going to be on the small side, so you want to keep out a little deeper where the fish average anywhere from about a pound up to 4 pounds. And look for hard bottom and 40 to 80 feet of water, and watch your depth machine for any signs of fish, and then anchor up and start chumming. The key to catching yellowtails is lots of chum. And if you want to get really serious, mix some sand and oats with that chum and make some delicious little chum balls. And then glass minnows and silver sides, that'll also help sweeten up the mixture. Now, the more chum, the better. And I like to use a light spinning outfit with 12 to 15 pound test and a 2-0 hook. You want to tie it straight to the main line. If you're using a high-vis line, a light fluoro or a clear mono-leader will work. Bonita, squid, and ballyhoo cut into small strips and drift it back into the chum. That is one of the best ways to catch these yellowtails. Also, a small jig, bait it with one of those strips and drift it back into the chum. It's a great way to get them if they're a little boat shy and staying on the deep side. And it might take some time, but occasionally those fish will get chummed right up to the surface right behind the boat where you can pretty much sight fish the ones you want. Now, I got a photo here. This is Martin Rodriguez with some big flag yellowtails. Now, by the look on his face, I'm not really sure if he's excited or if he's constipated. I was trying to figure that
He's
out.
He's confident in his yellowtail. That's what that face is.
That's what that is.
Okay.
You go, bro.
The dolphin fishing in the past week has been as good as we've seen all season, especially down in the Miami area. Most of the fish are being caught on and around floating debris and also under birds. And the bulk of the birds and the stuff floating has been roughly 8 to 10 miles offshore. In the Miami area, there's been a nice rip with a little bit of weed line formed on it in that 8 to 12 mile range, and it's been holding the sargassum and the floaters. The fish, they've been eating trolled baits and lures, R&R mahi magnets, rig ballyhoo, and once we've been locating the fish, we've been using live and cut baits. They've been eating the cut baits very good, and the schools have grown up. We were catching all those little guys. They've gotten a lot bigger. Most of the fish have been big schoolies in the 5 to 8 pound range, and there's been a few 15 to 20 pounders caught as well. Now, I got a picture of a nice dolphin catch that we had last week aboard the Thomas Flyer, and it's a welcome sight to be catching those things.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Good job on the Thomas Flyer.
Moving inshore, snook season opens tomorrow, and there's been plenty of snook around looking to get caught. We got schools of snook in all the inlets. They're being caught on live pilchards, herring, pinfish, and croakers. Any other live bait you got around is probably going to work. You want to drift them near the bottom on a Jupiter rig. Also, flare hawk jigs and soft plastics are working. And also, all of the bridges of the ICW are holding snook. And they're being caught on both live and artificial baits fish along those shadow lines. And in both the inlets and the bridges, outgoing tide is going to be the best. And then along the beaches from Lake Worth Inlet south to Government Cut, those snook have been running up and down the beaches in the trough just off the beach. They're eating live pilchards and herrings and artificials that look like small pilchards. And you want to look for areas that have some bait fish activity. Best time to target these beach snook has been early in the mornings and then late in the afternoon, and you can do it by boat or by foot. Got another photo here. This is a big overslot snook, and I didn't get the angler's name, but it was caught aboard the Go Hard with Captain A.B. Raymond up around Holliver Inlet, some secret spot up there. And then coming off the full moon this week, the permit fishing has been really good in Biscayne Bay, and it should continue good. Those permits, they prefer some nice weather, just like us fishermen. So on the days with good visibility and stable weather, meaning not having a lot of storms throughout the day, that's when those permit are going to bite the best. The permit fishing has been good around the Ragged Keys with fish in the 7 to 10 pound range. And then in the Caesars Creek to Angelfish Creek area, fish have been a little bigger in the 15 to 20 pound range. You want to look for hard bottom, like corally hard bottom flats that have good water flow and fish with silver dollar sized crabs or crab pattern flies.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Black Oak LED hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says inshore, look for the snook in the inlets and around the jetties, off of the beaches in late afternoons and evenings using live and artificial baits. And then if you guys want to go offshore, try to have some live bait in the well and some cut bait ready. Head 8 to 12 miles offshore in search of the weed lines and floating debris that has been holding those mahis or dolphins, whichever you prefer to call them.
I like to call them both. I love them so much. All right, we know yellowtailing in the Yanmar ASB Keys region can turn into one heck of a good time paired with great table fare. So let's see what Miss Sarah has to say.
Hey guys, yeah, we have some great yellowtail snapper fishing. It's very popular here in the Keys, and for really good reason. We have a very healthy population of yellowtails. They're plentiful, year-round fishing for them, so a lot of people come, to visit the Keys to specifically target fishing for them. They're really fun to catch, too. A little challenging, but great to eat. Kind of a soft, white, flaky meat compared to other snappers. It's more soft, but still really good to eat, like some of the best white meat you'll get. And also our local limit here is 10 snapper per person, so that's a nice, you can go out there and catch a boat full of snapper and make it worth your while. So, like I said, they can be a little challenging once you learn some tricks and stuff to catch them, but once you learn it all and practice, you can have a really good time. So some things before you even leave the dock, you should have chum on your boat, sand and oats if you want to get a little fancier and do the chum balls like Jimbo was saying, but definitely chum. Anchor your boat in 60 to 90 feet of water. Look for good water movement. Other tricks are like use the fluorocarbon leader because yellowtails have really good vision, so fluorocarbon's a good thing. A very small jig head with a small piece of cut up bait like shrimp or ballyhoo. Big yellowtails will also eat the live pilchards or those silver sides, but got to be patient. You got to sit there and chum for a while before they start to bite sometimes. But they bite hard and they pull good for their size. It's really fun on light spinning gear like the Penn Battle. Here's a photo of my friends Rob and Linda. They just went out on their own boat for fun. And they got their limited yellowtail that day, but that was a nice one they had.
That sure is a nice one.
He looks familiar.
What else you got this week, Sarah?
Mahi, our dolphin bite offshore, Jimbo said the Miami bite's good too, so it's really a late season thing, but we've had really good dolphin fishing offshore as the summer kind of winds down now. We started off a little bit slower for the mahi earlier this year, so it kind of doesn't surprise me that we're having a better late season. It just happened to be migrating through now. Maybe it was the really extreme heat we've had. They have, played a factor in their migration, but we'll take it now. It's been really good mahi fishing. So if you're here to target mahi on your own boat, you want to head offshore, look for weed lines or debris floating, birds diving down on bait, just signs of life. Have your good assortment of your own bait ready, including like live options, pilchards, pinfish, and cup bait too. Mahi are, they're great to eat. They're fun to catch. They jump out of the water. They're fun to fight. They put on a show. So they're good, fun fish to go after and target for the day. And here's a nice triple header caught by the Dauntless charter boat.
Nice.
Nice fish. Okay, let's go inshore. What do you got this week?
Bonefish, again, we've had a great year of bone fishing here in the Keys. I've talked about them a lot this season. They're one of my personal favorites to target and catch, but they've been biting really good the past month or two, and it's really cool to see so many fish around. A lot of them are small, but it's really nice to see the healthy population of fish, because a few years ago there hardly seemed to be any around, but now they seem to be making a nice comeback. So it's nice to see a lot of them being caught. Pound for pound, I think they're like the hardest fighting fish in the world, but you think you'd have a big marlin hooked on, it's just a 4-pound bonefish, but they scream your drag and run really hard, and it like blows your mind that a little fish can fight that hard, but they're really fun to catch. So their favorite bait, would be like live shrimp, but they also, a lot of people come here and throw flies at them. Like fly fishing is really challenging, and they're considered like a trophy fish to catch on fly. So a lot of people do fly fishing here for them too. But here's a photo of a double header caught with Captain Bill Bassett.
Nice. One to go. What do you got?
Some people scoff at jack fishing, but there's so many jacks here right now, and they're really fun to catch. They'll eat almost anything, dead or alive. They're easy to target. As a matter of fact, you'll end up catching them whether you like it or not, most any place you go. They fight hard, they bend your rod, they scream your drag. It's an easy crowd pleaser, fun for beginners and kids. They're just a little underrated because they're not really good to eat. Most jacks kind of are just jacky, I guess. But forget the dinner plate and just go catch and release them for fun, and you'll have a great day and plenty of action.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the Lower Keys region. Inshore bonefish bite is good on the inshore flats. Look for the bonefish mudding where they are feeding, or for fish that are waking or swimming on the flats. Cast your bait ahead of them and you'll certainly catch one. And then offshore, the great blackfin tuna bite on the humps continues this week with some jumbo-sized tunas being caught, live pilchards or cigar minnows or vertical jigs, or even maybe a popper. Those are going to get the bite while you do some drift fishing.
Drift fishing. All right, let's take a look at some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys.
Let's do that.
First up, we have the Florida Keys Lionfish Derby and Festival, September 7th through the 10th, ending with a final weigh-in of invasive lionfish catches, along with a public festival at Postcard Inn in Isla Mirada. Next is the Key Largo Rotaries Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, which allows fishing day and night from Friday, September 22nd to Sunday the 24th, then presents awards for releases of redfish, snook, and trout in adult and junior divisions. Then is the Isla Mirada Fall All Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, October 9th through the 11th in Isla Mirada, where anglers fish for 3 days in 3 divisions, artificial, fly, and bait. And finally, the Ladies Let's Go Fishing University and Fishing Fever Tournament in Isla Mirada, where the ladies learn fishing skills, October 14th during the Ladies Let's Go Fishing University, followed by the Fishing Fever Tournament on October 15th. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com.
Fishing Fever?
Woo!
Is that you?
No, but I wish it would have been.
Come on, let's get some Fishing
It's a
Fever.
great name. All right, we're seeing what the Fish Bites East region holds for our Labor Day weekend ahead. But first, we're finding out the Yellowtail do's and don'ts for Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques at the CCA Workbench with Dave Farrell.
It's too bad there's not a good Yellowtail snapper tournament coming up, because we're going to show you how to catch them all.
Well,
Big
Dave's
ones
going to
and
give
little
us Yellowtail fever.
Yep.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques at the CCA Workbench. I've had my shot of 10 Cup. Dave, lay it on me. I need to know what's going on.
I guess I need one of the shots.
Yes, you do. It'll do you right.
I'm lagging. Woo. Anyway, the Yellowtail snapper is a great day saver fish. They're really good to eat. You can usually, if you can find them, you can usually catch a lot of them if you do certain things properly. And they're just excellent to eat. They make the best fish tacos, and it's great for the kids to catch them, and we like to catch them too. So anyway, if you get out to where in some of these places, they're prevalent all the way from Brazil to Bermuda. I mean, you can catch yellowtail snapper, but we're lucky in Florida because we have some of the most huge concentrations of them in South Florida and even in the Bahamas. A lot of guys go over to the Bahamas to catch them. But anywhere in water between 60 to 100 feet, sometimes deeper, and there's a good current over some reefs, some really hard bottom, really good reefs. That's where yellowtail snapper like to live and school up. Right. And once we find that good current moving over that preferred water depth, pretty much right on the edge of the deep water, that's where we'll anchor up and try to throw out some chum and get some yellowtail snapper up into our spread. And that's when we can start fishing for them. You want to use, like all the people have said, we use a lot of chum. Oats are a great chum. I got some oats here.
Now, why do you like the oats over your traditional block chum?
Well, they float, they float and they cover the whole water column from the top to the bottom, especially if you put some sand in it. Now, this is about a gallon of water and probably, I'd say about a pound of rolled steamed oats, the same stuff that you use for your oatmeal in the morning. And you can put silver sides in here. You can put a bunch of a regular block of chum. You defrost it and mix it all in here. You could open up a couple cans of jack mackerel and throw it in there. You always put sand in it. That sand is what disperses the chum from the top to the bottom. It makes it sink a little faster, and it comes apart slower, and just makes a nice chum slick. And what we want to do is we want to get enough chum out there so we get what Randy Tao used to call the yellow brick road.
Right.
Once you see all those yellowtail rising up to eat this chum behind the boat, that's when you start fishing. You don't start fishing right when you get there and right when it's not that bad. You better watch out. There's pieces of the bag in there. But you don't want to start fishing right when you get there. You want to sit there and wait until you see those fish come up and it gets all yellow back there, when you know that there's a bunch of them back there and they're all in a frenzy, eating that chum. They're a lot easier to catch then.
And what Randy always preached is to use one rod at a time.
Right.
This is my actual yellowtail rod. It's loaded up with some 12-pound mono.
Yep.
And as you can see, I've got this Eagle Claw yellowtail jig. This is a 1/8 ounce one.
Yep, that's the LSSW L. And these are the larva jigs. They're called a larva jig. And these are like a secret weapon for yellowtail snapper.
So is current really important, Dave?
You have to have current. What it does is it disperses your chum, one, and it also gets the fish in a feeding behavior. They want to eat when stuff's coming by. That's how they live. They sit down there and they wait for stuff to come through on the current. So when the current's coming, they're wanting to eat. So that's why, if you get into a place where there's not a whole lot of current going, your chum's not going to go anywhere, and you're probably not going to get that many bites. Now, the fish bites is really great on there.
I prefer the fish bites.
It doesn't come off.
Right.
You're going to keep getting bit until he gets hooked.
Right.
Right. But if you wanted to put a shrimp on there, that's fine. A little silver sides, one of the ones that you put into the chum, you can bury it in. You bury that little jig head in there and get it out there to them. A lot of the bigger ones will be a little deeper sometimes. So if you can, that's why it's so good using these larva jigs, because they get just a little bit faster down and deeper and get past all the little fellas quicker.
The mistake everybody makes is they don't keep free lining.
Right. Got to keep letting it out.
Guys, just keep letting it out and keep letting it out, keep letting it out. And then what's going to happen is all of a sudden it's just going to accelerate.
Zoom. And then you just pick it up and wind.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best advice you could give us, is just to keep winding till you come tight, guys.
Yep, you don't have to be setting any hook or doing any of that. You just wind until it comes tight.
Because there's still a lot of stretch in the monofilament.
Yeah, yeah.
Good segment.
Yeah, you guys.
Can I have a little more of that chum over there?
Yeah, sure.
That's some pretty good
Ricky
oatmeal.
wants some
That's
breakfast
some
over
good
here.
oatmeal. That's some good oatmeal.
Good oatmeal. All right, in the Fish Bites East region, Yellowtail fancy the zoo. So let's find out more about that with Captain Mike Holliday, who's on the Zoom. Hi, Mike. Good to see your face.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Good to see you too, Brie. You're looking all dressed up.
Oh, well,
You know what?
it's my professional fishing shirt.
You look all growed up and mature.
Oh,
I like-
great. Love it.
So we have a strong yellowtail presence in my region. The best action's in 40 to 100 feet of water from Palm Beach all the way up to Fort Pierce. Some of the better areas include the 65-foot patch reefs off Palm Beach and the zoo area off of Juneau. That's an outstanding yellowtail area. The David T. and Draga wrecks off of Martin County and the Halsey wreck off St. Lucie County, all are really good yellowtail spots. You can anchor up and chum with glass minnows, pilchards, or chum balls just to bring the fish to the surface, and then drop back a small pilchard or sand perch or a chunk of squid on a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader. You can also drift using a double hook chicken rig or anything from a chunk of squid or a fish bite strip to a small pilchard, threadfin, or cigar minnow. And the average yellowtail in my region is 1 to 3 pounds, but we do get flags up to like 5 pounds. I got a photo that Captain Jonathan Earhart of Chaos Fishing Adventures in Stewart sent me. That's a shot of Ben Jones with a nice yellowtail. He got that on the 6 Mile Reef, and that fish ate a dead pilchard. Now, the other offshore bite we have going right now, the northeast winds we had last week helped ramp up the blackfin tuna bite off Palm Beach and Martin counties. There's been some skipjacks in the mix as well. The best action's been anywhere from 150 to 400 feet of water, which is easier to fish the further south you go because that depth range is so much closer together. You can run out to 300 feet of water off the breakers and make drifts back into 150 feet while deploying baits on kites or just staggering them around your boat. You can also, find a lot of fish trolling small feathers or slow trolling live baits in areas like Push Button Hill or some of the humps and ridges that are on the inside of Push Button Hill. Average blackfin in my region's anywhere from 8 to 20 pounds, but there's been some studs, and I got a jumbo that Rich Du Bois on the Salty Days charter boat out of Port St. Lucie sent me. They caught that fish on a live sardine. They were trolling in 300 feet of water off Stewart.
All right, sushi for sure. All right, let's talk about some inshore fishing, bub.
Yeah, the snook season opens Friday, and so we'll roll into the holiday weekend on the backside of the full moon and the last of the summer spawn. There'll still be a lot of fish in all the inlets and on the beaches, places like the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, and North Beach and Fort Pierce will have a lot of fish on them right now. In the inlets, live bait's king with redfins, pilchards, sardines, and croakers are top baits. Along the beaches, a saltwater assassin, 4-inch sea shad, or a live mullet's going to get the bite. With all the rain we've had early in the week, the spillways in Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties, they should be flowing pretty good, and they'll have the snook chewing. That's a great place to throw an Artemis shad or an R&R flarehawk jig or fish a live bluegill or tilapia. In my region, the average snook's 5 to 15 pounds. I got a great snook photo. Ella Pinsky of Palm Beach caught that nice snook on a live sardine.
All right, what else you got for us?
Well, the inshore tarpon bite has really picked up in Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties, particularly around the bridges on the outgoing tides and in places like the channels leading into the Moorings development and the Harbor Branch development in Vero Beach and the crossroads area of Stewart, as well as the Stewart Causeway. In the inlets, a live mullet or threadfin, either drifted or slow trolled using the trolling motor, work it around the jetties, that'll get you the bite, particularly right before dark and on the overcast days. At the bridges, the best bite's been at night and before sunrise, but there's also a midday bite if the mullet are pushing through or the crabs are flowing. A lot of times on an outgoing tide, the crabs will flow. Tarpon bite will get pretty good in the middle of the day. Average tarpon, 20 to 60 pounds. I got a photo of a beach caught one. Tyler Prey got that fish on fly on the north side of Fort Pierce Inlet.
Nice.
So certainly the storm caused a lot of fresh water, and what do you got for us this week?
Well, The early morning school bass bite has been very consistent on the Butler chain, which typically has really clear water, particularly in the deeper coves of Lake Butler, Lake Tibet, and Lake Down. You want to look for fish busted on the surface, or you want to look for diving birds and throw a Bass Assassin split tail shad or a little boss. You can also throw a white spinnerbait or a small topwater plug. Most of those school bass are in the 1 to 2 pound range. There's also been a good frog bite for bigger fish along the shoreline vegetation, and a pretty decent dock bite throwing a black and blue flat job or a tap out worm, rig Senko style, just flipping it up under the docks. And then in the heat of the day, the best bites have been along the edges of the grass and around the submerged peppergrass beds, fishing small swim bait like a watermelon magic or green pumpkin colored little tapper worm with 1/8 ounce jig head. Just something, not a lot of weight. You just want to sink slowly. Live shiners are also working. Seems like the smaller shiners are working best. Right now it's a 10 to 20 fish morning with 5 to 7 pounds on the Butler chain.
Well, Mike, we appreciate all your hard work each and every week. We love seeing you each week. So it's time for the T&H Marine Hotspots. We'll talk to you next week, bud. He says the T&H Marine East Hotspots inshore, Snook and Jupiter Inlet on the incoming tide use live croakers, sardines, or pilchards on a 1 ounce weight, and then offshore high-speed trolling for the wahoos at dawn, 220 to 400 feet of water off Palm Beach County. R&R Wahoo Magic Lures and Swimming Mullet will get the job done for those, Brie.
How are those oats you've been snacking on, huh?
I like them.
You like them? A little snacky snack?
Not as much as I like this beautiful outfit that you have today.
Well, Blue,
You're looking good,
we're twinning today,
yeah, man.
per usual.
Blue Man Group.
Well, it is Labor Day weekend, so red, white, and blue, here we come this weekend. Like I said, Labor Day, and you know what? It's the last few days of the CCAFL Star competition presented by Yamaha. This is your last shot at entering any fish, and that includes yellowtail, for the win. It doesn't have to be a tagged redfish or mahi to win prizes. There are over 100 prizes awarded, and any fish could win you some amazing prizes from Star. You just have to be in it to win it. So get registered today, get your measuring device, download the app, and enter any fish you catch this Labor Day with your shot to win a share of $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. Go to CCAFL Star to find out more. Last few days. I can't believe it's finally happening.
Right?
All right. The Startron Central West and Real Legends Central East regions are firing up the grill for some yellowtails. So keep chumming, and we'll be right back. We're going to go get some more oats.
You all fired up?
Yeah, obviously.
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go.
Oats, where we come.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, your fish, our science, Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, together we do more, Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA, and Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Well, Rick, last time you visited Daiquiri Deck and visited the kitchen, you and Chef made quite the mouth-watering dish paired with the perfect tin cup whiskey recipe. So let's see what you two came up with for this week.
Oh.
Ooh, let's see.
Let's see.
So guys, as you can see, I'm here in the kitchen at Daiquiri Deck, and I got my good buddy Chef Jeremy with me. Chef, what kind of fish are we gonna be serving up today?
Rick, today we're going to do an American red snapper.
All right, so what are the ingredients that we're going to need, and how are we going to prepare it?
Yeah, sure. So first we're going to start with a little olive oil. On there. A little salt and pepper. I like to use a fresh kosher salt.
Right.
A little bit of black.
Nice.
We're going to get both sides of that. I've took the liberty of already scoring the skin. So when you're putting that snapper on the grill or in your frying pan, to score that skin there so your fish doesn't curl up on you.
I got you.
And it also helps with even cookingness. And we're going to go ahead and put this right on the grill. Right?
Oh boy, listen to that already.
We're going to serve this with a tequila Jose Cuervo tequila lime butter. And we've softened up some butter, and we're going to add a little bit of this Jose Cuervo.
Perfect.
Right into there. Just a shot. You know, you can add more if you want, depending on how
how
strong
frisky you want to
That's
get.
right. Yep.
Now what's that?
This is fresh lemon zest,
Okay.
fresh cilantro, fresh lemon or lime zest. Want both of the citruses, and a little pinch of cayenne. You can go a little more depending on how hot you want. Always a little salt and some black pepper. We're just gonna mix this up, and you can do this ahead of time. You can have this the day before or a couple days in advance, and you're just gonna, mix this up really well so it's all well incorporated.
Let me know if you need my help.
Well, I certainly will. If you want to hold on to that for a minute.
I'll keep mixing.
Yep, keep mixing. So what we're gonna do, our final product is gonna be this cylinder shape that you're gonna pull out of your ice box.
Okay.
It's just butter. So then we're gonna go ahead and put that right on top of here. Yep, perfect. Look at that.
How about that?
All right, and then we really just we're gonna make a cylinder shape here,
Right.
just like that. Then you want to just turn your ends.
This looks like a Tootsie Roll when
There
you're
you go,
kids,
yeah.
guys.
The butter Tootsie Roll. There you go, and then put that right in your ice box at home. And then you're gonna have this. This is gonna be your final product. You can see it's starting to get a little opaque on the sides there.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. So now we want to just give it about a 50% turn. Yep.
Flip it.
Yeah, go ahead. Throw it right over on top of there. Yep. All
Same
right.
here?
Yep, same thing. Yep. All right.
Now we're gonna pair that with just your normal margarita. I'm gonna use the Jose Cuervo Castellino because it's really one of their top shelf Jose Cuervos. We're gonna have a salt the rim. Obviously, we've got here at Daiquiri Deck, we specialize in making margaritas as well as all your favorite drinks.
Yes.
And that's about it.
I think it's a great pairing.
You can actually smell the little aroma there.
Okay. Now we're just going to cut up our butter into little rounds like that.
Right.
And we want to just put a little bit on top there.
And the hot fish will do the job and melt it for us, right?
It will, yes.
All right, guys, so if you want to check out this recipe, it's going to certainly be up there on the screen, or you can go to the Florida Insider Fishing Report website. It'll be there for you. I think I'm going to have a sip of this margarita.
Awesome, yeah.
And probably a bite of that fish. I'm going to let it cool just a little bit more.
Well, thanks for having me, Rick.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's good.
Brie, one margarita. No, I can't do it.
No, you should.
Everybody knows what I'm
You
talking
definitely
about.
shouldn't do it. But those sushi butter roll looked great on top of that
Was
snapper,
so
man.
good.
All right, it's time to get those oats ready for the Yellowtail bite in the Star-Tron Central West region because we have Captain Paige on the line with your full report. Let's hear it.
Yes, we do, and that daiquiri deck happens to be in the Star-Tron Central West region, and they can cook some really good stuff up there, the whole crew. And it all starts with the chum. Once you get in the area where the yellowtails are holding, and in my region, summertime is the best time. They don't seem to mind the hotter water, 70 to 110 feet of water. And it can be broken bottom, it can be wrecks, ledges, rock piles. And then once you find your fish, yes, the chum is the key to get those fish up off the bottom to where you can use light leader. Chris Seeger likes to start with 20, and if he has to, he'll go down to 15. Small number 1 or even 1-0 light wire circle hook, and a little split shot if necessary, but usually, once the fish get up where they're eating on the chum, you can just free line up a chunk down or even a small live bait, and you'll catch your yellowtail. Not too many in the wintertime. Like I said, when the water's warmer, seems like that's our best yellowtail fishing in our region. I've got a nice picture tonight from the Full Send charter with a pair of yellowtails. I think that was just last week.
Nice. All right, tell us about the groupers offshore page.
All right, well, everybody's getting fired up for the GAD season to open September 1st. So it's this weekend, Labor Day weekend, and guys are going to be out anywhere from out in the Gulf. The bigger fish, Rick, have been 70 feet on out. Even 150 feet. And you want to find those smaller ledges, those smaller areas of rock piles. Some of those times, the bigger fish will hold on those. most of the time compared to bigger areas of hard bottom. Big live pinfish, best bet. Grunts if you can get them, but the penny seems to be pretty good. And don't be surprised if you get a nice snapper while you're gag fishing. And then the other thing to remember is you can troll for them in the passes going into Boca Grande Pass or Egmont Pass with lip plugs this time of year and do real well on keeper gags. And I've got a gag picture tonight from Captain Jay. That's Captain Jason himself with the beard with one of his clients with a nice gag they just caught.
Mm-hmm. Looking good. All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Red fishing continues to get better, and with all this rain and rivers going to be cresting and dumping out, you can look for a good flush of crabs and all types of stuff coming out of the bays and into the Gulf. And be surprised if the fish aren't schooled up right in the passes. That's my prediction. But also, we've been catching them around on the high tides around the oyster bars. Early in the morning, look for the fish up, humping, pushing water. I like to use the smaller profile top water. That Jaywalker 100 works perfect. It's the one with 2 treble hooks on it. And then if there's a lot of floating grass, a quarter-ounce Johnson Gold spoon. The oyster bars in Lemon Bay as well as Long Bar have been very productive. And the best bait, Rick, has been a chunk of pinfish or ladyfish, skipped up against the bushes, skipped up against the oysters, and let it sit, and you know where it's sitting. Whereas a live bait can swim off, and the water's still really warm, and the fish are still pretty lazy. So the chunk bait's been doing real good. And I've got a really cool redfish picture tonight, and that's Captain Simon with a happy client from Bayshore Charters with a nice redfish.
Nice. One to go. What do you got this week, Paige?
Something that you would be doing down in Florida Bay if you had nothing else. That mangrove inshore bite's been pretty predictable and pretty, reliable. That's the best word I got for it. When all else fails, when the tides aren't real good, any down tree, any rock in the passes or on the grass flat near the passes, small pilchers are going to get the fish fired up at the same game as with the yellowtail. Don't overchum them. Light leader, small hook, and I've got my last picture tonight of a happy young angler with a really nice bang he got with me last week.
All right, Captain Page, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. Captain Page says the redfish bite is good around the mangroves and oyster bar points, and Palmasola and Terracea Bay. Cut ladyfish or pinfish chunks are the best bait. And then offshore, gag groupers holding on the ledges and wrecks in 110 to 150 feet of water off of Venice. Big live pinfish for bait is going to be your best bet.
All right, the Real Legends Central East region has plenty to choose from when it comes to snappers, so let's see if yellowtails are an option. Hi, Jim.
Hey, gang, I tell you what, it's definitely an option. It's not necessarily a targeted species around here, but we do get them as bycatch, and mainly on guys that are using shrimp and little chunks of bait anywhere from about 60 to 90 feet of water. Now, what I really want to talk about, though, is what we have more of, and that's more of the mangrove snapper and more of the lane snapper. You're going to catch those in those same depths, and you can actually catch them on the high relief structure all the way out to about 130 feet of water. With our recent tropical storm that just went by, the water inside may be a little dirty, so you may actually find that some of those fish have pushed out to those little bit deeper pieces of structure. But the big mangroves in particular love a live finger mullet, and our finger mullet run has started along the beaches, so it's easy to get those baits right now. You just put them back in your chum slick, or you can cut them up and drop them down to the bottom and get some of those bigger fish on a standard bottom rig. The lane snapper will also come to those live and fresh cut fingerling mullet on many of the reefs and wrecks in those same depth ranges, but they're going to primarily going to be catching those on the bottom or just above the bottom rather than up in the water column like you can with the mangroves and with the yellowtail. Now, staying offshore, the deep dropping for yellow edge grouper has been pretty good lately. A lot of the guys that I'm talking to that have been out here in the 500 to 600 foot depths are doing really good on those yellow edges. And the best bait seems to be a whole squid, and you want to put that on an R&R deep drop rig. Belly strips are another bait that works pretty good. It's a little more durable than the squid, but they haven't been getting quite as many bites as the squid have. The average size of these fish is pretty impressive though, 15 to 20 pounds, and I've got a picture here Kurt Boykin sent me the other day, and look at the size of this yellow edge.
Wow, that's a beautiful fish, bub. All right,
some of that butter that you were just putting on some of that fish would go real good on that one right there, Rick.
Oh yeah.
Sure would. How about tarpon?
Now let's swing it inshore. Mullet run started. Silver kings are roaming in the beaches and the lagoons right now. You're going to find them around those bait pods. Here's one thing that I want you guys to remember though. This time of the year we have a small eel hatch. Those little schooling eels, those little sand eels, start to school up in our lagoon systems. And so some days you're pitching pilchards and you're pitching mullet to them, and you're not catching them. The catfish, those sail cats, the ladyfish, the bluefish are taking over. What you want to do is get a small eel type lure, put it on a 5/0 circle hook, rig it right through the nose, and Bass Assassin makes two that work really good. They're 6-inch tap out in the Sungill color, and the Bass Assassin 6-inch twitch in the Arkansas Shiner imitate those eels pretty good. So if you're finding that you're not catching those fish, look to those off-brand, or not those off-brand, but those baits that you wouldn't normally think of, because those fish are feeding on stuff that they don't normally feed on now that they're hatching in the lagoons. I've got a picture here of a tarpon grab, and I want to tell you, trying to hold on to a tarpon, Rick, as you know, isn't easy, but look at this one trying to pull back away from me right now.
I see that. Bad tarpon.
Bad tarpon.
All right.
Last species is snook. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the snook bite has been incredible again this week before the storm. I'm hoping to get out after this storm once the seas calm down and find that I haven't missed a beat. But like I said, the mullet run's going on, so the small to medium-sized mullet are what you want to be using for bait fish right now. Night trips, 4 to 7-inch lip diving plugs, saltwater assassin 5-inch Artemis shad. Those are very, very effective, and also in the surf, because it's a little more turbid in there, and they're not picking up that it's an artificial versus a live bait in many cases. Now, for the guys that are fishing in the daytime around the inlets, if the water's clean, definitely those live baits are going to work. Our average snook is running 26 to 36 inches at all 3 inlets right now. And I've got Chloe here with a nice snook that she put in the boat the other day. And we had a good time with her. Her and her husband caught quite a few of those the other day with me.
You go, Chloe.
All right, man. Good pictures this week. We appreciate it. I love the fact that you're matching blue with me and Brie. Welcome to being part of the team. But guess what? I got to go ahead and read the Rodan Marine system. Yeah, you did. Rodan Marine system hotspots from the Central East region. He says a mixed bag at Ponce Inlet Jetty. Use live shrimp, fingerling mullet, or croakers for redfish, the poon, or a snook. And then offshore, mangrove snappers on the high relief and wrecks in 70 to 130 feet of water, chunk and chum for fish up to 10 pounds, Brie.
There it is.
Snappers.
Snappers.
Come on, bring them snappers.
That's the first time in the show you've said it that way. All right, fish fans.
10 cups kicking it.
Oh, good. From now until the end of our season, we want you to send us your favorite fish photos for a chance to win one of our 500th episode prints like this. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen and click the giveaway link to fill out the form, and the winner will be announced on our season finale show at the end of September. We've gotten a few photos in, and they're really good. Make sure you send those in.
Thank you guys for participating.
Yes, exactly. Good luck and tight lines. But you know what? Your weekend bite has arrived in the Frontrunner Boats Northeast regions. But first, we're checking out some new arrivals at the CCA workbench for Taco Marine new products.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're twinsies now.
Are you Goose?
You got the
or
blue
Maverick?
shirts going on, but we got the glasses.
Oh, yeah, Dave felt left out. We're twinning with our soldados.
Exactly. These are very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they allow me to see the stuff that's real small.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, the readers. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench. As you can see, I got my comrade here, Dave Farrell, and guess what? It's time for the Taco Marine Trolling the Edge new product.
Yes, sir.
Dave.
We're gonna start with the Scoozy Stingray sandals there, gray and navy. These things are really nice. If you're going to be on a boat or anything, the bottoms of these things are incredibly sticky, which is what we all really want. You know, we want something that's going to stay where we put our foot, especially in the wet. And these will do it. You know, they have that elegant look. They have the ultra padded footbed, full grain leather up on the top there. Really, really comfortable. Antimicrobial liner as well. The footbed is, again, very soft, and they're incredibly light. I don't know, we can't, have you hold them here, but,
they're
nice really, really
too.
Light. And they have an arch in them, so they feel good when you put them on.
I'd be wearing them now.
Exactly, me as well. EV injected foot sole, and again, like I said, that slip-resistant tread on the bottom is incredibly sticky, and they float. They float on the water. So go to ScoozyShoes.com and get your Stingray sandals.
Bahio or Bass Assassin?
We're going to go to the Bass Assassin. These are the little P's and V's.
P&V.
P&V, the brown glass minnow and the green glass minnow, they look almost exactly like the same shape and size of a little glass minnow. They're a 3.5-inch tube style twitch bait. They catch redfish, they'll catch trout, they'll catch flounder, a snook will eat them. They have a real erratic action when you put them on a jig head, and they cast a mile. There's nothing to make them. I mean, they're streamlined as can be. They have scent infused in them. So, go get you a saltwater assassin. The little P&Vs are, I think the really cool new thing from
the glass minnow and the brown glass
the green
minnow.
Glass minnow and the brown glass minnow. BassAssassin.com. Next, we have these are the new Bahia readers, and these are the Soldados.
Right.
In the Rolls Gold. As we get older, it's a lot harder to read those little things and tie little knots and whatnot. So having the cheaters on, the readers, really help. They have great clear lenses, but these provide you still with a lot of power to look at the small stuff. They come in a 1.50, a 2.00, and a 2.50 strength on the bottom. And you really can't see them. They put them on the back of the glasses,
right.
So you can't see them from the front. You have to take them off and look at them from the back to be able to see the line. And bad blue light are blocked with the Bahia readers.
They're unbelievable.
Really good.
BahioSunglasses.com.
Right, really good ones. Next, we have the Black Oak LED Nitron XD Marine Night Vision camera. It's the highest resolution possible. Crystal clear imagery in pure pitch black darkness. It doesn't use thermal, so it's able to pick up ambient light and make everything look incredibly clear and detailed. Connects easily to most monitors. Garmin, Simrad, Maybmarine. Comes with a plug and a play harness. You just plug it into your video out port, and with the cable that's included, and you should be able to see, in the dark. It turns the night into day, which is amazing. Like if you're trying to make a long run out in the morning to go to the other side to fish for tunas, you got to leave at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're running in the dark, which is, we don't want to do a lot of times. But if you have one of these, if you have to do it, it makes it incredibly safe. You can see all the buoys, you can see all the posts and any debris out there floating in front of you, and it'll save you, your boat, and your passengers.
I cannot wait to put this on my boat.
Yeah, I mean it's a game changer. It's almost as good as a power pole or something when it comes in terms of opening up the nighttime to go fishing.
Right, absolutely.
Black Oak LED, and you can go get it at blackoakled.com.
Yeah, guys, in order to see it, I mean, in order to believe it, you got to see it.
Yeah,
it's really, really works good.
It's amazing.
I've been stuttering and fluttering and all kinds of stuff.
Are you?
Not really. You're fine.
It must be the barometric pressure be a little low or something.
Could be the tin cup.
I was just going to say, how about that tin cup
shot of tin
whiskey,
cup.
Rick? I don't know.
It's either not enough or too much. I haven't decided.
Tongue a little thicker.
There's a big problem there. All right, we don't think of Yellowtail as much of a front runner boats Northeast region thing, but when they're caught, they're a big thing. Hi, Tommy.
Hey, Brie. Yes, you're right. We catch some big ones, but we don't catch a lot of them here in the front runner boats Northeast region. And we don't have the yellowtail fishery that some of the southern regions have, but we do catch them, and the ones we do, they're giants. Majority of those yellowtail snappers, they're in like the 7 to 8 pound range, so they're nice fish. Most of those big yellowtails are going to be caught during the cooler months, but they can be caught year round, and usually they're caught while we're fishing for our other snapper species. And, you know, right now we do have a great mangrove and mutton snapper bite happening in the region. And there's probably a few big yellowtails in the mix out there. I spoke to one of our snapper experts, Captain Jason Hadges from J Hook Fishing Charters. He tells me he's been catching some huge mangoes starting in about 110 foot. You know, they've been schooled up. We're just coming off this full moon this week. And Jason said he'll fish on various bottom structures. He's going to start with a live cigar minnow or some kind of live bait, and he's typically going to catch a couple big mangoes or mutton. But when they shut down, he's going to start chumming those fish up. You know, that's a great way to do it with cut sardines. Jason says we get a little bit more away from this full moon. The bite's probably going to be pretty good, but the mangoes overall, they're going to start slowing down a little bit as we head into the fall months. But that being said, there's still some really big ones hanging out. So if you get a chance to do it, might want to get out there this weekend. He did report there's those occasional big yellowtails mixed in there as well. You might get lucky and hook into one of those too. So speaking of big snappers, I've got a photo here. This is Captain Jason's son, Braden Hadges, with a big old northeast mangrove snapper that he caught with his dad, Jason, aboard the J Hook.
Yes, sir. That's
also
a stud.
Offshore, guys. We have a little bit of a kingfish run happening on the beach. Still a little bit, you know, we're towards the end of that as well. But I spoke to a buddy of mine this week who's been catching some decent numbers of kingfish just a few miles north of the St. Augustine Inlet in about 30 to 60 feet of water. He's been trolling some spoons and some live pogies. You know, and the kingfish bite offshore, I have heard it's a little slower this week. But, you know, there's still some of those sailfish around out there near the 9 Mile Reef. There's been some big schools of some small minnows out there, and those sailfish have been feeding on them. So if you're out there trolling around for some kingfish, you might want to keep an eye out for some busting or finning sails around those bait pods. That could be a lot of fun. Now, moving inshore, guys, the mullet run has started. It's a little hit or miss right now with the mullet, but that little bit of a northeast flow that we had last week brought some of those bigger mullet down the coast, and they've been coming through the inlets in some pretty decent-sized schools. Now, if you can find those schools of mullet, you're most likely going to find some tarpon feeding on them. The obvious choice of bait's going to be a big free-lined mullet, or you can float them as well. And you know what? Our buddy, Captain Scott Jones, he's been slaying some tarpon, man, the last few weeks by simply fishing a fish bite jerkbait in the white color, just rigging on a heavy-duty jig head. Now, Rick, you and I can attest to that because last year, right about this time, we filmed the Sportsman's Adventures here in town. And Scott showed us how it was done with that thing, man. He hooked a bunch of big tarpon on that.
Yeah, man. You wiggle your worm, and he was doing it.
He was on it, man. He showed us how it was done. The mullet are also moving through the bridges on that incoming tide. It's going to be a good bet this weekend. First thing in the morning, the tarpon should be pretty active. And I got another picture here. Captain Scott Jones, the man himself, sent me this up-close and personal shot. One of those big tarpon that he's been catching with that fish bites jerkbait right there in his top lip.
Nothing works any better. All right, what else you got for us inshore, bub?
The redfish, man. We've got some really, really cool redfish fishing coming up over the next month. We have some really good flood tides, and this weekend we have some huge high tides. And those redfish are going to be up in the grass looking for some crabs to munch on. Try to get to your spot before it floods. You know, watch those redfish make their way onto the flat. That's actually some of the most fun, one of the most fun parts of that whole fishing is just watching them get up there and tail away. My go-to rig is going to be the Saltwater Assassin Elite Shiner in that Mama's 14K color. Rig that on a weedless hook. You know, that rig, it can be easily slid through the grass. That's important because you want to cast past and then in front of those fish so you don't spook them, and then just slide it into their strike zone. You can do that with that rig. Now, on the other side of red fishing, we've got the bull red starting to show up at the inlets and on the edges of the St. Johns River and around the bridges. Fish around those slack tides with a cut or a live mullet or even a piece of crab on the bottom. But guys, make sure, take some time with those fish. Just make sure that those big breeder fish, they swim away nice and healthy so they can get back to making some babies. I'll have lots of redfish for everybody to catch. And I've got one last picture here. My good buddy John Matula, he sent me this picture of a big redfish they caught under one of the bridges this week on a live mullet. And guys, you've got I think a few days left in the CCA Star tournament. Still got a chance to catch one of those tagged redfish, so give it a whirl.
All right, Tommy, thank you so much. Great report from the Northeast. Strike zone hotspots are up and due now, so we're going to roll with it. In short, he says the redfish in the flooded Spartina grass, an hour or two on either side of the big tide, Brie. And then offshore, mangrove snappers in 110 to 140 foot depths. You want to chum with cut sardines.
that redfish had a bunch of spots on it.
He did.
That was pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, well, we have an exciting Labor Day promo coming from Rodan Marine Systems. From September 2nd through the 4th, get free shipping on all motors by using the code RMSFL Insider. So if you're in the trolling motor market, now is the perfect time to grab one of these babies. That's pretty cool. Free shipping? Heck yeah.
Yeah, man, an $80 to $400 value.
Exactly.
You know,
Some
and I
good
bet
stuff.
if you push a little, you may be able to even get a better discount.
We're all
Because it
about
is
the
only a
discounts.
2-day event, so get on it, guys.
So get on it. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest and Sea Sucker Panhandle regions are ready for whatever this weekend might bring. But first, you know what? Take a look at the QR code on your screen to enter into our world of all things fishing, including our social pages, a new website, and direct access to sign up for our last live studio audience for our Bass Show on September 13th. We hope to see you there. We'll be right back.
Your weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back. If you didn't think the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has it going on when it comes to yellowtail, think again, because Captain Jeff Hageman has the inside scoop of oats, maybe.
Yellowtail snapper, one of my favorites to eat. Nothing better than a whole fried yellowtail snapper on the plate. And our fishery is actually, we got a really good fishery in the southern part of my region. Most of our fish are in depths of anywhere from 80 to 120 feet over any major structures like wrecks, pipeline connections, hard bottom. The techniques that you've been hearing about all night work really good from the south region up to the north region. Anchoring up side of the structure, get on that hard bottom or that structure, chum, put a chum bag out. I like to use rolled oats and that Purina dried fish food mix, and I mix that together. I think it gets a little more scent to it. And cut up sardines, a mixture of those will help them get them off the bottom and bring them up in the water column, make them a little easier to catch. We do have a lot of critters that like to eat them too, and they'll come up in your slicks when you start hooking a few of them, Goliath groupers and barracudas and sharks. So bringing them up in the water column will help you land a lot more fish. And our fish tend to be a little bit bigger than the southern fish. They average anywhere from 1.5 to 3 pounds, and we get some bigger than that. Anywhere from 10 to 12 pound mono. The smallest hook you can get away with, tipped with a little piece of shrimp, pet sardine, silver sides, all work well, free lined in the tide. Staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete's reports about triggerfish, another great eating fish. He's been catching them over hard bottom in 140 to 180 feet of water, using small pieces of squid, 2-aught to 3-aught trocar circle hook with 60-pound fluorocarbon leader and 6 ounces of lead. And I got a photo here from Captain Rob of a beautiful triggerfish.
Nice.
Those are so good to eat.
Yes, they are.
And yellowtails. And moving inshore, Captain Lee reports another good week of fishing right now in St. Joe Bay. The trout have a preference right now to live bait, so live pinfish and live alewives, also known as a sardine, fished over the bottom, over the deeper grass flats, 18 inches of fluorocarbon leader, and a 2-aught trocar circle hook. And I got a photo here of a nice average St. Joe Bay trout from Captain Lee.
All right, what else you got for us this week, Bob?
There, he got hit pretty hard. Captain Jim Pollard, Big Daddy Sport Fishing Charters, reporting on a great snook bite right now with the water temperatures down a little bit with that rain and all that weather we've had. The water temperature dropped a little bit. Jim's been fishing snook with live pilchards. He's using a 1-aught circle hook and 6 feet of 20-pound fluorocarbon leader because we have such water clarity right now. He's also soaking a cut thread fin as he's also using live bait. He's been catching his bigger snook on those cut thread fins, fished on the edge of the schools, and that's where he's getting those bigger fish. And I got a photo here from Captain Jim of one of those bigger snook.
Wow, that's a nice fish.
Look at that.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead. Thank you so much, Hag. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. He says, inshore, the redfish on the top of the tide, cut ladyfish, live sardines, and pinfish have been working well on a 4.0 trocar circle hook and 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. And then offshore, the scamp grouper bite has been consistent in 180 to 200 feet of water over the rock piles and ledges. Pinfish on a standard bottom rig or a butterfly jig has been working really well. So those are the go-to baits. But you know, Bree, speaking of the Ozella Key Marina, I got a couple pictures from our good friend Gary Bartell. They had 5 or 6 feet of water come into their headquarters, into their store. It flooded right on through, right up the road, went up into 19. Our friends at the Plantation Crystal River, they were flooded in the first level of all the hotel rooms. Yep. So, you know, our prayers need to go out to them. But guys, just understand that if you live on either side of the devastation, and the devastation started, you know, south of Homosassa because of the water, the tide surge, and it went all the way up into Port St. Joe Bay. So remember this, let's be good neighbors. Yeah. Let the federal people come in the first few days, let them organize the power. And once the power comes back on, guys, that's when we need to all organize and go there and help with the cleanup. I can't tell you how well it's appreciated when you go and help people take carpet and take all kinds of stuff out of their houses to the side of the road so that
it's overwhelming to do by yourself.
Yeah, because you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. Everything you look at's a mess, and you feel like you've lost everything. Well, guess what? If we show up as friends and say, hey, we need to go, what can we do? We help them take out the wood floor. We take wet carpets out. We take dryers and refrigerators that are never going to work again. Take them to the curb so that they can be picked up. That's a huge part of the recovery effort. But that needs to happen in another 2 weeks, not this week.
Right.
So keep that in mind, guys. You know, we need to organize something to get together and go help.
Right, and you haven't lost everything. If you have your life, you have everything.
We can get refrigerators and all kinds of new paint.
Exactly. You know? All right, if you're reeling in a yellowtail in the Sea-Sucker Panhandle region, be prepared to put some muscle into it. Let's check in with Captain Pat Deneen.
Yeah, Bree, I mean, I'll tell you what, we do catch an occasional yellowtail snapper up here. It's very random. It's very, strange occurrence. But when they are caught, they tend to be very big ones. So we really can't, talk about targeting them up here. It's more of a random catch. But the mangrove snappers, they've been really, really good lately, both inshore and offshore. Lately, inshore, the mangroves have been chewing in the lower parts of the bays. The snappers are structure-oriented, and they're being caught on live bait. So you want to fish pilings, junk piles, jetty rocks, range markers, anything with a little bit of depth in it. And then if you're in the bays, the closer to the inlet, the better off you are. Use small live baits like pilchards, baby pinfish, menhaden. They all make great baits. Live shrimps work great, but they might not last long if the pinfish are savage. They have a much harder time getting away from those pinfish. Use light leaders, small hooks, and minimum weight. The bay mangroves range up to 12 or 13 inches. There's a photo there of Captain Sid Little of Little Lucky Charters out of Sandestin. He's been easing out at night, and I say easing out at night, he's not fishing in the bays, catching snappers that size. But he's been putting the wood to some jumbo mangoes just offshore, in 60 to 80 foot of water at night. So that's pretty cool stuff right there.
That certainly is, Pat.
They moving inshore or staying inshore, Rick. The redfish has been very consistent in the bays in Santa Rosa Sound. Over in St. Joe Bay, you want to use a trolling motor or get out of the boat and wade the flats on the inside of the cape. Casting spoons, bass assassin paddle tails, or topwater walk the dog bait. They're also catching them off of the point there off of Cape San Blas Point, using live baits on a Carolina rig. Panama City's Hathaway Bridge has been good on a falling tide. That remains really consistent. Free line and live baits, and even casting topwater lures. It's pretty cool to have a full redfish bust your topwater bait in 20 plus feet of water. Redfish action at the Destin Bridge and the Coast Guard jetties, they've been heating up. Best bite is also on the falling tide. The pattern continues to the west in Santa Rosa Sound at Pensacola Bay. Target the grass flat edges and potholes in shallow water and then also structure in the deeper bay section. There's a photo. That's Angela. She's fished with Captain Chuck Kemper in Santa Rosa Sound this past week. That's a nice redfish she caught. She and her husband caught several nice reds like that, as well as trout. So inshore fishing has been pretty good, but it has been hot. Early is best, or late in the day.
All right,
moving offshore. I mean, way offshore to the floating rigs. Quite a few blue marlins were caught this past week, and there's been some nice blue water pushed into the close rigs. The Patronus, the Marlin, the Ram Powell, Horn Mountain. All those rigs are holding plenty of small tunas and blue runners, and the Marlin are there because of all that bait. Crews outfitted with tuna tubes are catching their bait pre-dawn, and then they're slow trolling live baits on the upcurrent side of the rig. But if you don't have the tuna tubes, you're not left out. The lure fishermen are definitely not out of the game. 3 blues were caught on the troll at the Patronus rig on Saturday. Rough weather, obviously from Hurricane Idalia this week. It's going to shuffle the cards, so it's going to be interesting to see how the water changes as a result and how the bite is after it calms down. And there's a photo of a 640-pound blue caught aboard the Devotion with Captain Jason Hallmark. He was live baiting the rigs out in that same rigs I was just talking to. That fish came up dead, and they went ahead and harvested it. And then finally, offshore, there's been plenty of vermilion, also known as mango snappers, are being caught. You're going to find them on hard bottom areas and wrecks at 80 to 130 feet of water. Use cut minnows and squid on chicken hooks, or small live baits like pilchards and herrings on light slip sinker rigs. And you're going to often get triggers and ruby red lips if you're fishing right on the numbers. So if you pull off the number a little bit, get off in the sand, you might just find that's where the mingos are hanging out. Drop your bait to the bottom and pull it up a few cranks to find the right depth. The vermilions are running up to about 3 to 4 pounds, and those, in my opinion, are just as tasty as yellowtail snappers.
You're 100% correct. Thank you so much this week, Pat. The Blue Water Outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region inshore. Fish the grass edges of St. Joe Bay for redfish and trout at first light. Snorkel the flats east of Black Island on midday for the scallops. And then offshore, the daytime sword fishing from the spur towards the steps and depths of 1,200 to 1,500 feet of water has been good. The weather permitting, of course, after this passing storm. Use squid and strip baits to catch those big daytime swordfish.
All right, well, we're over here at the CCA workbench, and let's show support for our Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida Fisheries license plate. For just $25, proceeds for the redfish tag support protecting and enhancing Florida's saltwater marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Visit your local DMV or visit redfishtag.com.
I got breaking news. I visited
Scared me.
my local DMV this
Didn't
week
you?
and got 5 new CCA tags coming.
There we go.
That's
what
new
I'm
news.
talking about.
That's
That's
it.
new news. Breaking news. All right, the Casa Vieja Southwest region is sending us into that 3-day Labor Day weekend, so hang tight, and we'll be right back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
My power pole shallow water anchors make it a lot easier for catching bait, and that's something I do 9-10 months out of the year for my fishing charters. First thing I like to do is observe which way the wind's coming from before I set the boat up and put my power poles down to catch bait. I use my power pole to anchor the boat up current from the flat or the drop-off edge where the bait is holding. I start throwing a little bit of chum out to bring the bait in close to the boat. Power pole holds me in position the entire time I'm doing this. It's even easy to throw the net off the back of the boat because the power pole anchors are down and out of the way when I deploy them. Best part is when I'm done, I can rinse the boat off, raise the power pole anchors, and move on. You know, before power pole, I used to have to drag a muddy anchor rope, chain, and anchor into the boat. Not anymore. Power pole, swift, silent, secure. And that's your power pole tip.
Puts the fish in efficient. All right, chum and the yellowtail will come in the Casa Vieja Southwest region. So let's see where Captain Ronnie Houston is telling us to go. Hi, Ronnie.
Well, like always, it's a pleasure being here. You know, one good thing about the yellowtails, and if you're beginning to try to find these fish, a couple simple things you'll need to do is you want to target wrecks, artificial reefs, or ledges, somewhere where there's some type of structure. But don't get me wrong, you can't find them there. They can also be caught in areas of hard bottom, but chances are you're going to find them near the structure. But probably the best way to catch them would be using some type of chum. If you want to keep it simple thing, a box chum bought at your local tackle shop, like my HOTSPOT sponsor, Serenity Bait and Tackle, always has plenty in stock. And if you want to advance and try something else, get you some pilchards. Cut up some pilchards, or you can even cut up herring. Once you get in the vicinity, if the water's pretty clean, you want to be using lighter leaders, like 20-pound fluoro. Water's a little bit cloudier, you can go up to 30 and 40 pounds. Obviously, we want to be using circle hooks. You can flatline them out, some small weight, or bright-colored jig heads, depending upon where they are in the water column. But once they're grouped up, dropping back small cut baits is going to be the key. It's not really expensive outfit you need for this. Some simple inshore light tackle will work. But if the fish are in certain areas of hard bottom, you can't draw them up. A simple chicken rig will be your best bet. And I got a picture of a variety of fish, but a pile of yellowtail snappers, and those people were fishing structure and caught all them fish.
Nice.
Still on the offshore side, the cobias. Now, the 10,000 islands north to Wiggins Pass want to concentrate on fishing wrecks and artificial reefs. You know, a couple different ways. You can use the run and gun method, or you can simply just have patience to anchor up and look for groups of fish on top, or even drifting in and around the structure, looking for fish on your bottom finder. Now, once you locate them, or if they're down in the bottom, just use a variety of live baits like mullet, herring, and pilchards. But if you see the fish on top, just about anything presented in front of them will work, from a bucktail or artificial swim bait or a large live bait. And there's a picture of a cobia recently caught while fishing a nearshore wreck to the south. My inshore report, the redfish. Captain Chris McCubbin reports the redfish bite seems to be getting better from Naples south to the 10,000 islands. He is telling me, though, high tide has been best for him, but he also says fishing close to the passes, where there's good moving water, or on the outside outer Gulf Islands, be a little bit better. Further, he works his way back to the middle bays. Not enough bait around. The water temperature's hot and too stagnant, so stay on the outside or close to the passes. The best baits have been pilchards, chummed up, or cut mullet on the bottom. And to the north, Gasparilla area, the Bull and Turtle Bay area, and along the west wall, cut baits and live baits under the bushes has been the best bet at high tide, or topwater walk the dog lures and gold spoons on your lower stages of the time. Look for the fry bait or roaming mullet schools, and I have a nice picture of an oversized redfish recently caught up to the north in the areas I just mentioned. Last species is going to be the snook. Now, if you take the time to the north to pattern intercoastal docks and seawalls during the day in the Gasparilla area, the Buck Key area, the Punta Gorda Isles area, simply using live pilchards chummed up around those intercoastal docks and seawalls. Even live herring, if you can get a pile of live herring, chum some of them up. If you can't, take you some live pinfish, especially if you're looking to catch a fish of a lifetime. You're still going to have time, but it's going to take a little heavier gear fishing near those docks. You want to at least be using 5,000 spinning reels, 7 to 7'6" heavy action rods with a minimum of 50-pound braid and a minimum of 60-pound leader. You know, using that heavy leader near them docks, to be a reaction bite once you get those fish chummed up. You're not going to use the leader, so 60 pounds is going to suffice, especially if he runs you back into the pilings. Also, 3 to 6/0 circle hooks is going to work depending upon the size of the bait, or simply skipping 5-inch swim baits, hook weedless, up under the docks, and I have a nice picture of a snook recently caught while fishing the areas I just mentioned up in the northern end of the region. Once these seas calms down, the water cleans back up, get back out. These patterns should be working at least into the fall.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. Great report. Thanks for batting cleanup for us. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the inshore. He says, tarpon, nighttime bite fishing bigger bridge spans throughout the region in the area of good moving water. And then offshore, the Spanish mackerel from the beach line out to 8 miles, fishing wrecks, head pins, diving birds, and then large bait pods, Brie.
All right, Rick, well, we're done mixing oats, unfortunately for you, letting our lines out and reeling in scrumptious dinners for now. But before we let you off into your Labor Day weekend shenanigans, we need to tell you what we're catching next week. So stay hooked to find out.
Weekend shenanigans.
Next week, we are talking flounder. Oh yeah, those doormat time, baby.
Flounder pounder.
So make sure you tune in. Rick, I don't know where you'll be, but
he won't be here.
I get Jim with me next week.
You got Jim.
I got Jim Ross with me.
Well, we have a little wedding in the Murphy household this weekend. Yes, my son Ridge is getting married, so we're not losing a son, we're gaining a beautiful, sweet daughter that we've never had. Kathy and I don't even know how to act.
Oh my. Well, you always said you wanted a daughter, so here you go.
Let you borrow one for a little while.
I know you're not gonna cry.
No.
Not at all.
But I am gonna dance with you while we're at
Oh, here we go. All right, everyone.
Can't wait. I'm gonna
stay
be
safe.
doing the dance with my little girl. Whoop, whoop. You bump?
Yeah.
You didn't even bump nothing.
All right. Gotta go. I'm gonna do a little salsa.